Hello, my dear one. Come closer. Settle in. I'll speak softly, as if the room itself is listening. Tonight, I'll tell you a story that begins with a whisper and ends with a quiet light. I'll tell it as if I lived it, because in some gentle way, I did. The lantern that remembers your name, some nights feel heavier than others. Not because something bad happened, but because nothing did. That was the kind of night when this story began. I remember lying awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet sounds of the house settling into sleep. The walls ticked softly. The floor sighed. Even the darkness seemed tired. I felt misplaced, like a sentence missing its final word. I wasn't sad exactly, just distant from myself, from the future, from the gentle certainty that tomorrow mattered. That was when the night leaned closer. At first, it was only a change in the air, a softness, a pause. Then came the feeling that something unseen had noticed me noticing it, and then I heard it. Not a voice, not a sound, a knowing. Come. I sat up, heart slow but steady, as if it had been waiting all along. Outside my window, the moon hung low, round and patient, like it had nowhere else to be. I didn't question why I put on my sweater. I didn't wonder why my hands didn't shake. I simply followed the invitation. The street was empty, wrapped in silver blue silence. Every step I took felt remembered, as though the ground had been expecting my weight. At the far edge of town stood the old clock tower. No one spoke of it anymore. Its clock had stopped years ago, frozen between moments. Yet as I approached, the hands moved, one slow tick, then another. With each sound, something inside me aligned, memories without images, emotions without names. I placed my hand on the wooden door, worn smooth by time and longing. It opened on its own. Inside, dust floated like stars caught mid-wish, and there in the centre of the room stood a lantern, glowing softly, as if it recognised me. When I lifted it, the world exhaled, and everything else fell away. I stepped onto a road that did not exist until I did. It shimmered like moonlight on water, stretching endlessly in both directions. Above me, the sky moved slowly, layered with deep blues and drifting gold, a sky that felt older than questions. The lantern warmed my palms, not with heat, with reassurance. "You walk carefully," said a gentle voice. Beside me padded a fox, his fur the colour of early morning. His eyes held the calm of someone who has seen many endings and feared none of them. "This road," he told me as we walked, "belongs to those who once believed deeply and then grew tired." As we moved forward, the air filled with scenes, not quite memories, not quite dreams. I saw myself younger, whispering promises to the stars. I saw myself older, carrying invisible weight with quiet strength. I saw moments where I almost gave up, and moments where I didn't. "You think these are regrets?" the fox said softly. "They are not. They are proof you stayed." We came to a lake so still it reflected more than faces. In its surface, I saw not who I was, but who I could still become. The lantern brightened. I understood then. The light was not guiding me somewhere new. It was returning something I had set down long ago, but the road began to thin. The fox slowed, then stopped. "No one stays here forever," he said kindly. "Light only matters if you bring it back." I nodded, even as my chest tightened. Turning away was the hardest step, and yet the truest one. I woke just before sunrise. The room was unchanged, yet lighter, as if it had been waiting for me to return properly. Outside, birds practiced the first notes of morning. On my windowsill stood the lantern, unlit now, ordinary wood, plain glass. But I knew. Since that night, life hasn't become perfect. Days still tire me, questions still linger. But something essential has settled into place. I remember now. Hope does not shout. It does not rush. It waits patiently until you are quiet enough to hear it again. And when you do, it remembers your name. So if tonight feels long, if the dark seems thoughtful, if your heart feels like it misplaced something important, trust me, the road still exists. The lantern is closer than you think, and the night is kinder than it looks. After that night, after the road and the lantern and the quiet return to morning, I thought the magic was finished, folded neatly into memory like a letter kept in a drawer. But magic is patient. It waits to see if you will live differently. Days passed. Ordinary days. I washed cups, answered messages, stood in lines, watched the sky change its mind about the weather. Nothing remarkable happened, and yet everything felt slightly closer, as if the world had stepped half a pace toward me. I noticed things I used to rush past, how the sun warms even tired windows, how silence is never empty, how people carry whole oceans behind their eyes. And sometimes, usually when the evening grew soft, the lantern would return to my thoughts. Not glowing, not calling, just present. One night much later, when sleep came easily, I dreamed again. I was standing in a small clearing wrapped in twilight. The silver road did not appear this time. There was no fox, no sky full of motion, only a circle of stones, and the lantern resting at the centre. You don't need to walk anymore, a familiar knowing settled inside me. You are already where you must be. I knelt and placed my hand over the lantern. It felt warm, not with reassurance now, but with belonging. That's when I understood the final truth of the story. The road is not for escape. The lantern is not for rescue. They exist so that one quiet day you realize you no longer need to leave yourself behind to survive. The light doesn't guide you away from your life. It teaches you how to stay. When I woke, the lantern was gone from the windowsill. And that was all right, because something had changed permanently. When night comes now, it no longer feels like a question. It feels like a companion. And when sleep arrives, slow and kind, it carries no urgency, no fear of being lost. Only this gentle certainty. You are held, you are remembered, and even in the dark, you are allowed to rest. So rest now, my dear listener. Let the story close its eyes with you. The light knows where to find you. Good night.